I've been a reader for about 5 years now. I read a little bit in middle school. I read The Hobbit in high school. I read a few really short books, but then I stopped reading for about 10 years. Fun fact about me, I never once read a work of required reading for school. So, from high school up until like my third year of college, I never read a book. And then in 2018, I started reading. And then I read 56 books that year, and then I read 100 books the next year, and now I'm a big time reader. The book I'm reading this week, Bookshops and Bone Dust, is the story of an orc adventurer who has been injured. She has to take time off from her adventuring, and she discovers a small town bookshop and a love of reading. I'm relating very strongly to this because I too am a jock who loves to read and has been forced from time to time to have my life slow down a little bit, pick up a book, and to escape into a different world. So I think this book has a lot of things going for it. We'll see what else I'm going to tackle. Welcome to the reading vlog. Monday. This week I'm reading Cozy Fantasy. I decided to read Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. I read his book, Legends and Lattes, last year and rated it 5 stars. I think now, with my updated ranking system that I'm going to explain in a later video, that this book would only be like 3.5 or 4 out of 5 stars now. I'm a more mature reader. But Cozy Fantasy is all the rage. It's very popular on BookTube and BookTok. Everyone loves epic stories. Everyone loves stories where you save the princess, where you defeat the big bad, the great evil, you save the world. Epic in scope. But sometimes you just want to read a story and relax, cut loose, lay back in your chair, feel cozy. And Travis Baldree's Legends and Lattes and Bookshop and Bone Dust really capture the cozy feeling you are looking for. This book follows an orc adventurer who has recently been injured on a mission, and she's being forced to recuperate in this small town where there is nothing to do but stop by this bookshop that she's going to help out with. So why do I love this so much? I'm only 40 pages in, but I'm already loving it. Why do I love this so much? My day job, I'm a professional fighter. My life is quite tumultuous. I'm very antsy when I don't have things to do. I love to have a goal. I love to have an opponent to prepare for. I love the grinds. I love the pain. I love the struggle. And when I'm injured or when I don't have a fight scheduled, I don't know what to do with my life. That's part of the reason why I started filming videos about books and talking about it on YouTube, because this is my hobby. And even my hobbies are kind of like high stress. I don't need to make videos about this. I don't make money from this. I just do it because I enjoy it. So I very much relate to our protagonist, this orc adventurer who is young and fiery and has goals that she's trying to accomplish, but she's being forced to slow down a little bit. I think a lot of us could benefit from slowing down sometimes. Taking a day off, reading a nice book, getting a hot chocolate, laying down, chillaxing, just loving life, living in the present moment. I figured out what else I'm going to read this week. I decided to read a few volumes of Change the World. This is a humorous thriller detective manga with a body swap element. I love body swap stories. I remember watching Freaky Friday and finding it hilarious. There's been several very popular ones. You know, our protagonist switches bodies of another character, usually a family member or best friend. They walk a few miles in their shoes. They come to realize that what they had before wasn't that bad, and you have a greater appreciation for the person you were before the body switch. And then at the end, everyone is happy. You're back in your own body with a different perspective, and life is good. We've seen this story told a lot of times. What makes Change the World different? Our protagonist is a 23-year-old incel, no friends, no accomplishments. He's accomplished nothing of note. He has no hope for the future. And at the start of this manga, he's actually contemplating and preparing to take his own life. He bumps into an individual. Some weird things happen. I'm not quite sure yet. And he switches bodies with a person whose life is very much put together. He is good looking. He is tall. Everybody likes him. He's the most successful detective on the police force. And everything's looking pretty dang great. He's like, dang, I lucked out. I won the lottery. But then he goes to this person's house and finds that there's like a torture dungeon and there's a bunch of body parts, and he realizes that he has switched bodies with a serial killer. Compelling stuff, darkly humorous. I can't wait to see where it's going to go. I love the body swap trope. I hope this story tackles the topic in a compelling way. Friday. I just got done filming my wrap up for October and November because I really fell behind schedule. I talked about all 14 books I've read over the last 2 months, and that'll be in the description below. But I'm reading Change the World, and this is a thriller. This is a comedic thriller manga, a body switch manga. And I really am feeling a lot of empathy, a lot of love for the protagonist because he was a loser in his first life. He was a loser before he switched bodies with this good-looking, super successful serial killer. He was 23 years old. He had no friends. He's accomplished nothing of note. He even says before he's preparing to unalive himself in the first chapter that I thought your life's supposed to flash before your eyes before you die. But that's not happening to me because my life has been a waste. And that gave me chills. Because I can't imagine being 23 years old and thinking that your life is meaningless. Thinking that the person you are is nothing of note. Not special in any way. Not unique in any way. And I'm feeling for this character. Because despite all my issues, all my weaknesses, all my trials and traumas, I've never wanted to be another person. I've always been happy in my own skin. And at 29, I'm very happy with the person I see in the mirror. I've never wanted to be another person. I've never wished I had somebody else's life. I'm very happy. I'm very blessed. I've never wanted to be somebody else. I've always just wanted to become the best version of myself. So I have trouble relating to this character in that respect, but I feel for him. And I'm supposed to be laughing at this thriller comedy. And I am, but I keep going back to that. This character was only 23 years old, and he was ready to end it all. He was not happy of who he saw in the mirror, and he had no hope. And that's just a tragedy. I hope this character arc is a good one. I hope he finds the value inside himself. I hope he beats the big bad, the scary serial killer guy. And I hope he makes some friends. Saturday. Bookshops and Bone Dust is better than Legends and Lattes. A lot of people disagree. A lot of people said that Bookshops and Bone Dust did not capture the magic of Legends and Lattes. And that may be true, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Legends and Lattes had no stakes. It was just a orc adventurer retiring, opening up a coffee shop. And it was beautiful, and it was cozy, and it had a nice little message about friendship and love and settling down and moving past and moving to the next stage in your life, which is something a lot of people can relate to. But really, it wasn't anything special. Bookshops and Bone Dust is a lot more thoughtful because this is a prequel. Viv is still an adventurer, but she's forced to take some time off because she is injured. And that's a lot more relatable to me as an athlete because there's been a lot of times where I've been injured and unable to do what I want to do. And martial arts has been one of my coping mechanisms for over 10 years, almost 15 years at this point. So that's very relatable. But also, there's way more things at stake because Viv is not sure if she's going to recover. She's not sure if she'll ever be the same. She's making friends. She's loving where she's at in this stage of her life, but she knows she has to leave it behind. So there's emotional stakes there. And because this is a prequel, we know that this is a lot of this book is a lot of the character development that led to Viv becoming a balanced character, trying to turn over a new leaf in Legends and Lattes. And Bookshops and Bone Dust, I can't spoil it, but there's this one character, and there's a really interesting commentary on agency and finding life's meaning. And realizing that just because your life has always been one way does not mean it will always have to be that. You could move on to the next stage of your life, and there's nothing wrong with that. You did not come this far to only come this far, as the quote says. So yes, I'm going to be finishing Legends and Lattes early tomorrow, and I'm excited about it. I think this is going to be a good experience towards the end. Sunday. I finished Bookshops and Bone Dust, and it was a great prequel. What makes a great prequel different than the usual prequel? Because usually authors ruin the original work, or, well, they make the original work less by just trying to create more works in that universe for the sake of just having more works, for the sake of just having another book, for the sake of just making some more money. And that's why a lot of people across all the bookish fandoms hate prequels. They hate when an author comes back to, their most popular work and they create a prequel just for the sake of creating one, and it makes the original work less. They're doing it just to do it. A great prequel adds context, adds color, adds depth to the original work. So Legends and Lattes tells the story of an orc adventurer who retires, goes to the city, and opens up a coffee shop. And it's a lovely, cozy story about found family, turning over a new leaf, what have you. It took BookTube and BookTok by storm. It was immensely popular, incredibly successful, and Travis Baldree wrote that book in only a month. And he was struggling about whether or not to write a sequel. Originally, the sequel to Legends and Lattes was going to be a murder mystery. And he said, well, that doesn't seem to be in the similar tone. That didn't seem to be the sequel that Legends and Lattes deserved. So he decided on making a prequel that give a little bit more information, a little bit more added context to Viv before she retires from being an adventurer. This takes place, Bookshops and Bone Dust takes place, when Viv's just starting out. She's just becoming an orc adventurer. And because if you read the original work, that, she's not going to retire in this town and work at a bookstore. She's going to have to leave people behind. She's going to rest from an injury and then go back on her merry way, be an adventurer, making all the dough. And this was a great prequel because I knew how the story was going to end. But I knew way more about Viv as a character, and it made a lot of her actions and her character traits and behaviors make a lot more sense in Legends and Lattes. Because Legends and Lattes, the central tension in the center of that plot was she's trying to turn over a new leaf. She's trying to live a life free from violence, free from fighting. She just wants the simple life of a business owner, as if that is simple. But she holds on so tightly to this dream, and you're wondering when you're reading Legends and Lattes, like, why don't you just behead all your enemies with your axe? And it'll be much easier for you to be a businesswoman. But after reading Bookshops and Bone Dust, you see that seed be planted. You see Viv realize that eventually she's going to want to slow down. And it makes her adventure and her story and her happily ever after at the end of Legends and Lattes all the better. Bookshops and Bone Dust was bittersweet. I think it was a much better work than Legends and Lattes, not because the author tried to recapture the magic of the book that everybody loved. Because this is a lot sadder, more somber, not as hopeful if you read it on its own. But if you read Legends and Lattes, it makes for a very great, cathartic, compelling duology. And I think it was a great prequel. Better than the original. Home run for sure. I don't know why this book isn't more talked about on BookTube, because it deserves to be. I really think if you are a bookish content creator, you will resonate so strongly with these characters who are just realizing and discovering their love for the written word and how it's changing them and how it's bringing them together with other readers. That's kind of what BookTube is all about. It's pretty damn sweet. Change the World, I read 11 out of 25 chapters. I'll be finishing that next week. That was a very interesting book to read along with this, because that book's all about like switching bodies and realizing that maybe your life wasn't that bad before you switch bodies. You appreciate what you have more. And these books both kind of had a similar theme in that regard, where it's like something drastic is changing in your life and it makes you value what you had before all the more. So yes, check out next week's reading vlog to see how I like Change the World. I wonder what I'm going to read next week along with that. December is starting off really dang good. I can't wait to see what the rest of 2024 has in store for me. Thank you guys for watching this week's reading vlog. I'm Sir Jordan Drew, signing out.